Hello, my name is Ben Hart. I'm an American attorney and I'm the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. I'm going to briefly discuss U.S. immigration, certain misconceptions about U.S. immigration. This is specifically in a family context. So we're talking about fiancés, marriage visas, etc., dependent children visas, these kinds of things. A couple of misconceptions about the process. First of all, the notion that it's like easy. I've noticed over the years that sort of people, if you've never lived abroad, or if one has never really had to deal with the immigration apparatus of a given country, one is somewhat ignorant about how vast it generally is, and in a lot of ways how complex it is. In many, many ways, U.S. immigration law is a lot like tax law. It's highly code-driven. It changes at a regulatory level fairly frequently, and at the same time, by dint of the fact that it's so code-driven, certain things seem easy, so to speak, because after a certain amount of time, certain processes become sort of routine. People get on the internet and talk to one another about how their cases progress, and in 90% of routine process cases involving spouses and fiancés of U.S. citizens who come from Thailand, the overall process is going to be relatively, pretty much one case will look markedly or relatively close to another one. But these cases are like snowflakes. Each one is unique. And a case can find itself just sort of being caught up in the system sometimes, inadvertently. Things get lost. Filings do sort of go missing from time to time. It's an issue. So again, the sort of misconception that the process is easy, don't walk into the process thinking it's going to be easy. In fact, for most people, they're only going to ever deal with this once in their lives. I'm not necessarily pushing for someone to hire, a professional or someone like us to assist. What I'm simply saying is, if you can do the cost-benefit analysis and say to yourself, do I really want to become an expert on how to bring a fiancé into the United States, or do I want to get on with my life and just get the thing done? Some people are going to say, I don't mind going through all the rigmarole to do that. Other people are going to say, no, I would prefer it if somebody just dealt with that on my behalf and I didn't have to deal with every little detail of the process. Because it does change, as noted on this channel. The forms changed here recently, fee structures have changed here recently. Various things throughout the process will periodically sort of mutate over time, in the sense that, like, the way in which a given agency that deals with these matters has always processed things will slightly change. Again, dates and timing are a major issue and a factor in these matters. As cases, I'm sort of dealing with the aftermath of the new year. January is always sort of a difficult month with respect to these matters because you're coming off of a month, December, that has quite a few holidays, especially here in Thailand, as there's not only Christmas and New Year, but there's a couple of Thai holidays of significance that will cause the U.S. Embassy to be closed. And that sort of results in an overall sort of backlog, and then you get back from the new year, and you have to deal with it, but things slow down. So again, yes, one can do the K1 visas or K3 visas or U.S. marriage visas like the CR1 or the IR1 immigrant visas. Yes, it's possible to do them on your own. It's possible to defend yourself in a murder trial, quote unquote, pro se, on your own. But it's probably not very recommended. Now, this is not that. These are two qualitatively different things. Again, litigation, especially complex litigation, is something best left to professionals, especially specialists. These kinds of matters are more sort of administrative. It's sort of something to think about from the standpoint of, do I really want to go through and spend the time and resources myself to, do this myself, or do I want to just have somebody else do it? That being said, again, it's not the easiest process in the world. Another misconception that people seem to have about U.S. immigration matters in this context is that there's a given set period of time in which the case is going to process. There are many moving parts in a given case. A U.S. immigration matter that is, an immigrant matter that's filed in the United States is going to involve Department of Homeland Security's USCIS. Then a significant portion of it is going to involve the National Visa Center, and then finally the United States Embassy here in Bangkok has their own protocols and due diligence mandates that they have to deal with when processing these cases. So there is no given period of time in which there's going to be a guaranteed window of processing. It's just not possible to predict that with that degree of certainty. That being said, yes, there is a way of sort of predicting it within a few weeks here and there, or give or take a few weeks. It's possible to anticipate when something is going to process out. An immigration lawyer should be able to give you an idea, especially should be able to give you an idea definitely within a few months of a time frame as far as like a fiancé visa or a marriage visa for a U.S. Citizen spouse, for the spouse of a United States citizen. So it is definitely possible to give some specificity on when a case is going to be processed out, but it's not possible to say it down to an exact finite moment. That being stated, another thing to think about is, yes, it's possible to do oneself, and something to think about, there's another video on this channel regarding this. Not all immigration service providers are the same. My personal situation is I'm an American attorney. I'm a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. I've been doing this for nearly 10 years and have experience dealing with consular processing here in Bangkok. I'm qualitatively different than so-called visa agents or whatever you want to call fly-by-night operations that essentially, process paperwork, but they have no qualification, and moreover, they cannot officially represent people. If you're not an American attorney, or there are certain non-profit organizations that have accreditation to represent people before USCIS and the United States embassies, if you don't have proper accreditation, you're not properly qualified, you can't deal directly with Department of Homeland Security. So there's a difference between an attorney and someone who is not an attorney. An attorney is going to be able to deal direct with the government when dealing with these matters. And if you think about it, that's pretty much what you want. If you're hiring somebody to handle this for you, you want someone who's actually going to handle it for you and interact with the government directly, rather than making you have to do that in a sense. So it's something to think about. These misconceptions and misnomers about U.S. immigration, they're fairly prevalent. Again, the notion that it's easy, in a sense, there's aspects of these matters that are straightforward, but I wouldn't necessarily call it easy. As far as the notion goes of a specific time frame, again, these cases all process in a different manner. You've got a large number of moving parts. You've got various different government agencies involved in the process, and anytime you're dealing with multiple different government agencies, it's going to be hard to tell when something is going to get done. So those who are looking at this process should really do their research, understand what they're dealing with, and understand that it's not necessarily a process that's going to be easy, and it's not necessarily a process that you're going to be able to predict down to the minute.